You're listening to Hardscape Growth, a podcast for hungry professionals who want to grow their businesses and level up. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Hardscape Growth Show. I'm your host, Alex from techo-bloc, and today we're joined by Rob Green from StoneCraft Designs out of Atlanta, Georgia. Rob and I met at the Hardscaper Showcase in Atlanta earlier this year. He's one of our Techo pros, and he's a hell of a nice guy because he and his team stayed back after the show to help us tear it all down, pack it up, throw it in a truck, and move on down the road to the next city. Rob is going to talk to us today a little bit about his journey building his business because when I texted you and asked you if you wanted to be on the show, and you said, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then I asked, what do you want to talk about? You said, how about going from a shovel to 5 million in 12 months? So why don't we just dive right into it? What the hell were you thinking and how did you do it?
Well, first, Alex, thanks for having us, man. We're excited to be here and obviously be a part of the Techo program and a Techo pro. I mean, that's pretty special, and we carry that with a lot of honor. But, you know, it was crazy. My business partner and I, we've been in business facets for like 5 years now, and I was sat down with him, and I was like, dude, let's go hardscaping. And he's like, what's that? And I started showing him some stuff from years ago when I was in the business before I had a physical injury. And so he's like, okay. So I was like, we put together a very simplistic website. We turned around and put $200 to Facebook ads using some existing projects I did from way back in the day. Yeah. And now, like, we got our first job. And it was crazy because when I got that job, I didn't even have the shovel yet. So I got the job under contract. I went and bought the shovel and a few tools and started the job. And, you know, we were doing the installation of just a basic kind of knee wall for a garden area. And the guy comes out and is like, what are you guys doing? He's like, you got this gravel here and this, you know, this fabric and all this stuff. I'm like, I'm installing, you know, your wall, sir. He's like, well, no one else is doing that. And I'm like, well, there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way. And so I'm very big on customer education and educating a lot of the things that you cannot see. And so then he saw us pulling string lines and comparing his work to his neighbors. He's like, dude, you guys do really, really good work. From him, he sent me to a friend of his that was in a neighborhood a mile away. And prior to me showing up in that neighborhood, there had been some work done in there that was substandard. And I got my first job in there, and it was, you know, we wound up doing 1,000 square foot of retaining wall, artificial grass, 800 square of pavers, deco wall, nursery, irrigation, fire pits, seating areas. And what happened is this community was blown away because no one had ever taken their time to open up their eyes of what's truly possible with their outdoor living space. They were sold on the idea that, yeah, all I need is a simple retaining wall to extend my yard. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, spending 40 grand on a single retaining wall to extend your yard when you're on a slope doesn't make a lot of sense unless we can spend 60 or 80 and magnify the space with some outdoor living.
Making it bigger for the sake of making it bigger doesn't really do anything. Let's give you something to do, basically.
Right. Let's give you something you and your family can enjoy.
Okay.
And so what happened was within 2 weeks, the neighborhood was flocking. I mean, I have pictures on my phone of me with 8 homeowners standing around me and me in the center doing like a thumbs up where they're just like awesome about the whole, you know, the work that we're doing. And so what happened is I took a community that had a lot of subpar work done, and I've built 20 projects in there inside of 8 months.
Really?
And yeah, and those 20 projects have been really special to me in their own way. I think every project that I did in there, as a team, we got better and better. So flipping back then, even before we finished those 20 projects, how do you do all those 20 projects? Well, you got to hire crews. in this business, if you want to be a great, reputable company and brand, which is what I'm really focused on building, you can't do it alone. And there takes a lot of other facets that have to happen. And it all sounds great, but the struggles that I went through and my partner went through are tremendous. We probably lost $300,000 getting this thing off the ground. And you're how's that?
How? What?
Yeah. So to dive into that a little bit, labor. I had a standard on projects that I was not willing to go underneath.
What's that mean?
I felt like, okay, well, if something's not what I feel is perfect or true square,
Okay.
then whether the customer likes it or not, I'm going to fix it.
Okay, so there's a quality standard that you would not leave the job site unless it meets that standard.
That's correct.
Regardless of whether or not anyone else sees it, this isn't right, so you're going to stop and fix it.
That's correct.
That's how you lost $300,000?
I mean, so we had part of that. The other part was estimating.
Okay.
We weren't on our game with estimating. I mean, you got to kind of look at it from my shoes. You're super excited to be back in the game. You got jobs flying from you from everywhere. Your jobs aren't moving as seamlessly as possible. So your systems, you're trying to build your systems. You're trying to get crew forming. You're trying to do this. You're trying to do that. We didn't have our change order game together. I mean, there was just so many things, but all my partner and I knew was we're building something special. And we were like, okay, so we got to the point where we were able to kind of slow down, and we burned through that and we worked through it. So we were doing a bunch of jobs, we were getting through them. And luckily for us, we come from the parent company that owns all of us, which is private. It's ours. It was successful. And so we were able to.
So you had built a separate company,
mm-hmm.
and then you did the spin-off, we'll call it division or sub brand, or however you want to classify it. That's the hardscape company.
Yep.
Because you saw there was an opportunity in the marketplace. No one was really doing it. You're like, well, what the hell? Let's try it. You try the first one. It leads to a referral, which opens the door to a bunch of other ones, which confirms your theory that, okay, the market really needs this and we can deliver it. So before you know it, you're running a marathon, but you have not trained for it. You haven't eaten anything, and you're just trying to figure out how to survive going through this because the demand is there and you don't want to burn the start of the reputation that you're creating within this community. Does that sound about right?
That's really spot on. Yeah.
So what's the other business?
So my partner owns a interior renovation business, and he's been doing that for about 5 years.
Okay.
And so we do, he does kitchens and baths and all that. And so the reason this made sense for us is we can carry, a vision.
The vision. Yeah.
Interior to exterior or exterior to interior.
I love it.
And, we're working on my side. We're now working in some of the most prestigious communities in all of Atlanta. And he's never been able to break into those as of yet, but I've been able to open the door for him into some of those communities. And so, it really makes sense from a brand and business perspective, which is what we're trying to do.
This episode is brought to you by Proseco. Today's homeowners expect low to no maintenance for their outdoor living space, and Proseco's line of specialty hardscape products are the answer. They're designed to go beyond basic cleaning and protection for pavers, slabs, walls, and coping, and help hardscapers stand out from the competition. Whether you're dealing with stubborn rust or hard water staining, or need lasting protection from water, salt, graffiti, or just everyday wear and tear, Proseco has a wide range of solutions for every challenge. Some of my favorite protectants are Paver Enhancer, which really makes colors rich and vibrant, and Salt Guard, which will protect your client's investment in even the harshest winter climates. Plus, their new adhesive is one of the strongest glues I have ever used. Visit Proseco.com or techo-bloc.com to learn more and connect with your local rep for samples and job site training opportunities. With Proseco, elevate every stone, every project, every time. So let me Not that I want to dwell on the painful 300 grand loss, but I do want to dig a little bit on it. So at 300 grand, thankfully, the parent company has the reserves to float you through that while you, for lack of a better way of putting it, get your shit together.
Yeah.
Um, what was the wake up call that made you realize, like, hey, hold on, this is great. People love us and we're doing great things, but we're not making a dime doing it. What are we like? When did you realize that?
So before I say this, I know I'm on a show that involves techo-bloc, but when I tell you the story, it's a real story.
Well, I want to hear stories.
I was hitting up Sean in North Carolina, like, hey, bro, where's the rep for Georgia? I'm interested in the product. I want to do something. And I kept pinging him on IG, and he finally connected me with Wendell, who's the rep here in Georgia. Yep. And Justin came out to a job that we did, and he's like, holy cow, dude, this is really good work, and I've never seen a retaining wall that straight. And what that led to was a meeting with Wayne Oost. And we were sitting at a dinner with my wife. My partner couldn't make it, so it was my wife and I and Wayne and Justin. And we were just talking about where I had come from, my experience, this, that, the fact that, techo-bloc was looking to really expand into the Atlanta market. There was a huge emphasis on it. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting down with them, and at the very end of the meeting, after about 2.5 hours of dinner and some cocktails, Wayne closed me, man. I mean, just looked at me and was like, look, it's a real question. Are you all in or are you all out? I don't want to hear you halfway. And I shook his hand and said, I'm all in with you, bro. And Wayne gave me a lot of pointers early on, and this is back in even October. So think, man, July 1, we're mid-October. Mm-hmm. And I took that information back to my partner. We started making some changes within. We started looking about how we were going to approach the market differently. I quickly realized that my passion and what I really was excel at was going to be building high-end luxury living. And at that point, it was, okay, let's start working through all of these jobs where we lost our money, and let's start shifting pivotedly. So I then started getting into using things like Synced Up, started conversating with some bigger players in the game for some knowledge. I invested in some mentorships, groups that, I could just get caught up, because when you're out of the game for so long, it changes. And I had to learn all that. Well, the problem was we were so excited about building, and I was learning on the fly.
You were learning the hard way.
Right, I was learning the hard way. And so we got really, knee deep into it. And then as winter time started coming, we started being able to slow down a little bit. And I started diving in a little bit more. I was slowly understanding what things needed to be cost-wise. The challenge is when you want to build a $500,000 project and you don't have that portfolio under that new brand, it is a challenge. And so
you're missing the credibility aspect that people are looking for, that track record.
Right. So in our minds, we were okay with the loss because it allowed us to produce some really nice projects that paved the way for greater opportunities.
But the loss wasn't intentional, right?
Never.
You end up looking at it as like, okay, this is a marketing investment basically to build the brand, build the reputation, build a portfolio of marketable assets. However, you're in the red.
Yeah. And it was never an intentional loss. And so, while we were working on securing some funding and doing some other stuff to invest in growth. So our mindset changed. You go on a journey.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it's cool. It's cool. Then all of a sudden it's like, man, okay, now I'm looking at a $200K project. Now I got a shot at a 400 to 500. So we started seeing a trend, and that honestly came with some mentorship some people were giving me. And kind of during that time that I came to the hardscaper, I met you guys. I picked up on a lot of different stuff while I was there. I took two of my crew leads. Their eyes opened up a tremendous amount. And so we just really started to take something that's super hard to swallow and can really get you down. We learned, like, all right, let's make it a positive. How can we use this to our benefit? And that was kind of our approach with it, of how it worked. And I mean, when I tell you, man, I've got people like wanting me to do 20 estimates in a week in a community, and you got no systems and no processes, and you're trying to figure it out. At that point, it was like, all right, all systems are go. We're wanted. People want our work. We got something here. Let's ride the wave. And we were literally punting on the fly. I mean, when I tell you, man, I worked until 1 o'clock in the morning trying to figure things out. I mean, that's what it took.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been one of those, it's been a ride.
So basically, I mean, it's a very uncommon story. There's a lot of common threads to like a lot of stories I've heard before, but the very uncommon part is you're starting with a ton of experience, but with a giant gap in your hardscape resume, let's put it that way, 10 years out of the game. You come back in the game because the market's there. You know what you can do. You have a partner that believes in you and willing to invest. So let's do it. You start going. You start getting into some really big jobs real quick. You don't have the right systems. You don't have the right labor. You don't have the right handle on your numbers. So you're underbidding jobs, or you're bidding them correctly, but your execution in the field is not up to par. So it's forcing you to come back and redo some things because you're so committed to quality, and that's a key to building the reputation you need to tap into the high end side of things. So you go through that for a few months. I'm just doing like a full recap here to make sure I'm following you. You go through that for a few months, you realize like, holy shit, we're losing money. We got to do something about it. Just so happens around the same time, you end up meeting up with your techo rep. Wayne, the regional manager, is in there too. You guys talk. You get really excited about going all in on the luxury market. You realize that there's huge opportunity. You want to use premium materials to do it, but you realize there's more at play here. There's more skin in the game the higher up the ladder you go. So you start looking at different things like Synced Up to get your numbers in check and give yourself some visibility over what's going on. And you find some mentors and you start turning things around. But all the while, you're still selling jobs. You're just getting better at the number side of things to make sure the money's coming in. So from July 1st till now is basically the lifespan that we're talking about. And now you're at the 5 million of revenue already because of the size and scope of the projects. Is that right?
Yep.
That's wild, man.
We're sitting on, I mean, I've got two jobs that are out there that are monsters. I mean, I'm bidding my first 7-figure job right now.
Wow.
And honestly, it came from our social and the education. A customer that, for their privacy, I'm not going to mention, but they're in this market. They're definitely in the. They do a lot of education within their business about the whys and why we do what we do. And a lot of our Facebook lives, I will discuss things like drainage and why it's important and why I use certain materials versus another one. And so that's the stuff that I'm always looking into doing. But it's kind of opened the door. I've been luxury enough to get like in one of the best communities in all of Atlanta. And by doing that, we were able to turn around and get probably 9 jobs in there. I mean, I've got 9 estimates that I'm working on. We'll probably land every one of them. And in fact, now the HOA, when there's somebody's looking for a landscaper, the HOA is referring us, saying, hey, these guys do super quality work. You really need to go and ask them to come out.
Okay, so I wanna just dive into that a little bit. So basically from a marketing standpoint, a big part of where your business is coming from is from the network that you've built, either from satisfied customers or from the benefit you have is you have satisfied customers from two businesses, from StoneCraft and from the interior renovation, kitchen and bath side of things, which is great because when people move into a house, the two biggest places that they invest money typically are a kitchen and bath, and then the backyard, especially if they have kids. Like that's boom boom. That's the order of things. So like your business is structured. You're gonna be right where you need to be all the time, which is fantastic. But on the social media side, and I pulled up just your Instagram page just for an example here, because I wanted to pull up just a couple of the posts to get you to speak a little bit to like what you're trying to achieve with them. So like if I look at this one, this is a kitchen or a backyard that has an outdoor kitchen, but you're pushing the premium and more differentiated styles like the Industrial Triangle down here, what looks like the West Mount and the Merlot color up there. But you have a full kitchen with a grill, with a sink, with everything, dining area, elevated seating area with fire pit, pergola. This isn't that big of a backyard, but you're doing a lot of great things in it. And like this is a pretty modest one compared to some of the other projects that you've posted before, but it's always about, I'll skip that one, I'll go to this one. It's always about that luxury side of things. And one of the things I find particularly interesting is this here, where you're saying coming in at $450,000 and you're showing the render of the project, but you're not shy to say like this is a $500,000 thing. And you're putting it out there, and it's still resulting in more people calling you, not less people. It's not like I'm sure there are people that are seeing that and going like, oh, this guy's way too expensive for us. He's not the one we're going to call. But there are others that are saying that's exactly who I want to call.
Yep. And
is that kind? Yeah, go.
Yeah, go I think so. As I kind of was rolling through this thing, like I think one of the things that I began to notice is I rebranded our logo. I started to really hone in on something. Now my preference is working with higher end homes because I feel that the market share of going and doing your production work of a 400 square patio and this or that, it's such a diluted space. You really can spin and kill yourself working in that environment because there's so many people doing it. And I have personally, my preference is being in the field as much as I have, and so many homes I've gone to, you really get into people who are, when they're in that realm, they're just shopping with price and they're so stuck on price.
Yeah.
Well, take us since July 1st, we own 3 trucks, 3 fully outfitted trailers, and we just dropped almost 100 G's with Blade Direct on getting some of the best tools on the market. So we're doing this stuff. Well, for me, from an overhead and operating perspective, that costs a lot of money to have that, to produce that quality work. So I quickly realized that I wanted my brand to align of something that's premium and luxury. And I absolutely believe there's a huge space for that. Mm-hmm. And so everything I've felt I've done, and that's why I put it out there, $450,000, whatever. I want people to know that a quality project like this, that's what it does truly cost. And I think for me, it's okay that some people are like, he's too expensive for me, because that other sub-market down there is so diluted. Mm. You can't invest this kind of money. You can't have $500,000. Every machine we have, we own. We own $500,000 in equipment. We own $300 to $350,000 in trucks, trailers, and tools. So we're 500 to 600 G's invested in our equipment to run our crews. It's hard for me to go and want to spend all my marketing money in that. So we really punted how we wanted to do it, and it's worked.
But it takes a lot of confidence to be able to do that out the gate, like to be able to say, like, listen, I don't want this market. I don't want this type of customer. Like I'm I'm going to put it out there. Like, this job is 450,000. This job is 250,000. Like, you're basically saying, if you don't have this kind of money, don't bother calling me, please. Let's not waste each other's time. The market being what it is, a little quieter, a little softer, a little more down. Did you ever have second thoughts about going that route?
I didn't. And here's, it was a customer that actually told me. So the customer the first job I got in the Sugarloaf Country Club, she came to that community where I'd done all that work, and she brought her friend. And she looked at me and said, "You have no business working in here. You need to be in my community because the work is too good." When she brought her friend, they'd been looking for a hardscaper for almost 2 years. She called her husband right there and said, "Don't call anymore else. We found our guy." And so that was actually the job that we did, where we showed some shots of the lower area with the checkerboard pair up. And that's the same house that has the iconic wall kitchen. They were there, and she was absolutely blown away. And she's like, "We found our guy." They just happen to live in the same community.
So, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So
I have so many questions. Sorry, I keep going to cut you off.
I was like, look, some people are just willing to be nutty and just like, let's run it. Let's see where it goes. And I think I'm one of them guys. I'm confident in what I do. I believe in my team 100%. We've had our trials and tribulations and, learning things together. But I'm very confident in how the trajectory we were heading. And it was at that moment that I realized that she's right. It's okay to want to chase that premium customer. And I was okay with that. Now, where we're going to expand into a 4th truck and trailer here in the next 30 days, now I'm like, all right, perfect. We're going to have 4 jobs going at one time. They could take 3 to 4 months and they could be $500,000 each. But I'm confident now that I can drop my crew there. I can have people on the job every day. The quality remains the same. We're not subbing a bunch of stuff out. And the money's there for that to happen when truly that's what homeowners want. They want a company.
What do they want?
They want a company that can come in. They're not going to just be out there and sell them a bag of goods and then try to bring a bunch of guys over there and not show up to the job regularly. And they want to know that when they invest money with your company, that you're going to be there daily and you're going to produce the quality work that they expect. I know if I was spending $500,000 on my backyard, I wouldn't want my job sites left dirty, and I wouldn't want guys just showing up whenever they felt like it. I'd want them every day, making sure the job's done correctly. And I want to see the guy who's running the show, to talk to him and make sure things are going. And we've been able to accomplish that.
So that's part of where I want to go with this. Like, what does your day-to-day look like? And you mentioned you don't sub a lot. So what do you sub and what don't you sub? Those are the 2 questions I have. So first, what does your day-to-day look like running this operation now, where you have 3 crews going to 4 crews and the average job is somewhere in the vicinity of $300,000 to $500,000?
So my day-to-day works. So I meet with my guys every single morning, and I kind of lay out what to expect. We've been able to create a system where they'll text me with materials as, hey, we're getting low on this, this, and this. And so I'm literally ordering those materials. My days is spent driving around. Normally I drive to each job and check on them. I'll always meet with the homeowners, talk to them, discuss ideas. And then I also still get in the field with the boys and play. So actually I was the one who did the iconic wall.
Yeah.
And on the kitchen with that crew. But I'll get in the field and I'll play with the boys because I still have the passion to want to install and do stuff. I've transitioned now into really even looking now for a full-time project manager as my time is becoming more quickly of continuing to work on the business itself, where I need to be more into the office and focusing on getting our numbers even better, building relationships with more partners for materials and our tools and things of that nature.
So what in your eyes is the role of the project manager then? What does the project manager do for you once you find this person? And then what specifically, like you're saying, look at the numbers, looking at partners, like what would be your priorities once you have a project manager in?
So my project manager, really what I'm looking for him to do is to be able to be the liaison between myself and the crews, and also the customer. I believe that I am a guy who will always have my hands on something at some point, just because that's who I am. That's my personality and that's my nature.
Mm-hmm.
But my role, my project manager, is to really get out there, be more in the field, where he might be able to be at a job for 2 to 3 hours each job per day, a couple hours per day on each job, really working. Where in the mornings he can go and meet with the crews, and he's got a good handle on, keeping the jobs running. He's monitoring job takeoffs more inside of Synced Up and seeing where we're missing the beat. And then for me, as far as what, working the numbers, obviously profitability is always the number one thing. When you lost the kind of money we did in the beginning, we just want to hone in on profits, right? We want to continue to really make sure that we're not missing anything. Can I become a better estimator? Are the takeoffs from the design to the estimate, or is there anything that was being missed, perhaps? And if so, how do we fix that? And then obviously, working with our suppliers for seeing, can we buy, is there a way we can get a smaller break, any type of additional break on our materials? One of the things that we've been working on is rolling into trailer stock and trying to be able to do trailer stock of certain things we use on a regular basis. That's something that we can,
So building an inventory of your most commonly consumed items so that you're not running around, or you have fewer delivery fees, and you might be able to benefit from economies of scale on the pricing of stuff too.
Right. Yep. So it's like, all right, I know, like for me, I use like a lot of TrueScape lighting on our projects. So, if I'm putting 50 ledge lights in a trailer, 20 path lights, a couple transformers, rolls of wire,
you're always going to need them.
Right.
Yeah.
Then now, right, I'm able to, one, make the jobs more efficient, have stuff in there that's the consumables that the crews need consistently. And I'm also able to then work with my supplier, like, hey, if you stock this, or bulk buys, hey, what if I know that I use, X amount of glue? What if I buy 2 pallets and can I get a better deal?
What kind of impact does that have on your cash flow management? Because that's a significant change, right? If you're making that change, that's not money that you typically have tied up in physical assets on your property or in your trailer and stuff. So how are you navigating that?
Yeah, well, one of the things we've been blessed for is we have a pretty healthy line of credit, some good terms with our suppliers. And because
as long as you can turn that inventory before payment is due, you're not too bad. So that's where estimating and precision in your estimating becomes so important. If it's a case of glue per, 100 feet of wall, it shouldn't be, but I'm making up a scenario here. Let's say it's a case of glue per 100 feet of wall, and that in the coming month you have, 1,000 feet of walls. Well, then that's 10 cases of glue that you should go through. So if you're bringing in 20 cases, well, you're going to have 10 cases that are going to be paid or payable at the end of the month that you don't have any cash for yet. So that's the kind of the dance that you gotta figure out.
Yeah, and then we also took we were able to, because of our growth and now getting way more profitable and things. Saying we've borrowed a pretty healthy. So we've positioned ourselves now for really growth. And so everything I'm looking at now with my partner is all about that growth, right? I've got big plans, man. We're in the process. We were just discussing about designing our showroom to have in 2025. So we have bigger plans, and I think that's where we're really headed with the overall, vision. And so I'm looking, while right now maybe a little bit of cash out of pocket, I know that as these waters keep turning, I think what's really cool is that we'll be on a really good system that not only we know and the crews know and a crew lead or PM knows, but our suppliers know. When you can mesh that together, it creates for a seamless experience for the installation part, which again, it's always customer centric. And then that in turn makes the installation and the process so much better for the customer.
So I just want to write that last part down, but I think so. I'm getting to know you through this process too, right? Like we hung out for like, I don't know, 10 minutes at the show. So I'm getting to know you while we're talking here, but that customer centricity is a critical thing, but I think it comes from your personality too. Like you're an outgoing guy. You're going to want to shake hands with everyone. You're going to want to introduce yourself to everyone. And that's what builds that network that has built really the success of the company. You're trying to get into the luxury space. Well, you've met the right people. You sold the right jobs to the right people. That brought you into the right network in a different neighborhood. Then you have HOAs that are basically fighting for your services. You build a network with your suppliers as well, because you have your stone dealers, you have your light companies, you have your equipment dealers, you have a team of mentors that you can consult with. Like you've surrounded yourself with so many different people that can help you when you need it to take that next step. You add to that the financial support that you have. And yeah, it makes a ton of sense what you're saying, to focus on developing a good system. And you're doing that with your guys. And then once you have that good system, bring a project manager in, because now this part of the machine can run itself if I put the right person in the driver's seat. So I'll find the right project manager, put them in the driver's seat for that piece. That can go. And now as the owner, I can focus on analyzing the numbers, dialing them in, making sure we're more profitable. I can focus on selling more work, designing and estimating bigger and better jobs that will continue to propel us forward, continue to strengthen the network and develop it further, because there will be other products and other things that you'll want to integrate as an offering to your customers. Develop smarter ways to manage your inventory, increase efficiencies, lower your costs. That's through your consumables inventory, potentially working price deals, potentially just streamlining your operations by having stuff in stock, and taking things a step further by developing a showroom, which again, you can't do all of those things if you're also meeting all the clients and visiting every single job site every day and selling the jobs and running the crews and having fun building shit at the same time. Like you can't do all those things well. So what's good is like you're doing it, you're just doing it in like hyper speed, probably because of the experience you've had prior and the combination of working with the right people and having the benefit of mentors. So that leads me to my next question with regards to the mentoring. Like, what does someone like you try to pull from your relationships with mentors? Like, what is it that someone with your experience, with your background, with the backing, everything seems to be going well, except for that hiccup at the beginning. It was a pretty big one, but still. What are you trying to get from those relationships, and how are they benefiting you? This episode is brought to you by hardscaper.com. The Hardscaper mission is to empower industry professionals with the skills, inspiration, and confidence they need to take their businesses to new heights. Struggling with training programs for your team? Looking for helpful tips to build a better company? Subscribe today to gain access to hours of interactive on-demand hardscape construction and business courses for free. Check out hardscaper.com.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a part of a couple pieces here. Number one is Hardscape Mentor and Dan Preston, and that group. There's a lot of great guys in that group, man. You got Richard Carroll, RC Outdoor, and some of these other guys that are in there. There's a lot of talent in that group, and so. Listen, I said it in one of my latest posts. Some days I'm the student, some days I'm the teacher, man. You never can be willing not to learn something that you talk to. And so I'm always asking about systems and processes. Hey, how do you guys do this? What about this? Do you guys have um, maybe ways in your contract that you're protecting yourselves from certain things? I'm always looking for that. The other person that I mean, I say I owe a ton to, but this guy has really taken me under his wings, Jack Kelly. Jack and I've got a special relationship, man, and we talk daily, you know, he's really pushing me. He sent me a text the other day. He says, "I believe in you, kid." And he said he and I are working on finding that signature. When you look at his projects, the guys
they're his projects.
Exactly. And we're going to be making an investment for my partner and I to go up and spend a weekend with Jack, and he's going to help me find what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I think that's crucial, right? I want people to know in Atlanta when they see it, StoneCraft Design and built that. Whether they have a sign on it or not, we want people to know that, and that goes back to that brand. And we just got our little black signs that we got that we place on pillars or at the end of a nice feature that we put lights on so you can see the name of the project.
Do you find that that's an important thing? Actually, I'm gonna pull it up while you answer that question, just to show people what you're talking about, because I saw it on your Instagram. There it is.
I do.
Here, go for it. Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, so I guess where I've landed with this is being a really passionate person about everything I do in life. I immerse myself in the experience in the space when we're working on a project. And so when I go into a project, man, I give it my heart and my soul. There's not an ounce of me that just doesn't immerse myself into the space. And so I feel that I touch these projects and customers, this comes from customers telling me, when you're here, it's different. There's things move. It's different. And so I want to leave my mark, my legacy, right? I'm building this for my family, for my children. I mean, it's not about Rob, man. It's about my guys and where making their lives better. I mean, that's what this really is about. It's about everybody who's involved, giving them a better quality of life, giving the customer something they can enjoy for many, many years, and create memories with their families. And so I feel like that's special. A lot of people don't take that approach. And so I feel like leaving that signature behind, it's going to be, and mark my words, Alex, when we meet at the next Hardscaper show, there's going to be people that just look at me and say, I want that. I want that sign. And that's when you've done something. It's bigger than just being a hardscaper, man. I mean, that's the reasons that you want to get out of bed, is because you have families all around the city that want that experience. Well, who benefits from that? They do. Your employees, your people, your families. So now, man, you're changing everyone's life just by focusing on a passion. And I think that's really how I've started to feel into this thing, man. It's pretty special.
I mean, I couldn't really agree more. It's very few trades exist where you can make that kind of impact on people, on their lives, on their families, on communities, not just your customers, but your own team. Because as you grow and as you tap into those higher end projects, and you don't need to tap into the higher end projects to do this, but if you build a good business that's profitable and you can continue to pay your people a great wage, and they can build the lives that they see as well within what you're building for yourself and for your family, that's the beauty of building a business. And when you're literally building beautiful things on top of it, that is what the business is. It's a pretty cool thing to do. And I like the idea of the badge from that perspective, because like it's a stamp of like, we accept nothing but the best at this house, and that's what people want when they spend money on a car, or they spend money on a super high end grill. there's not a huge difference between one or the other, but the brand is something that makes people think and makes people feel something. And that's where the magic is. It's funny because like in the little caption, you have a little magic wand there too, but it's true that's where the magic is the power of the brand. And the power of the brand is the personification of the people behind it. Right. So that passion that you bring, that energy that you bring, that commitment to excellence and quality that you bring, that accepting nothing but the best for my customers and passing that down through your entire team and building a business that brings that to the market, that's all the stuff that creates the brand. And that's why you have people who are pounding down your door after, this little time in business saying, we want you and only you, and calling their husband saying, stop calling everyone. I found the guy. This is the guy. It doesn't matter what the price is. This is the guy. Like that's like hats off to you, man. Because that's exactly what you need to be doing. And I can see the impact of the mentors that you're working with, because especially like a guy like Jack, like that's what he's built for himself, and that's what he's helped tons of people do. So it's really impressive. It's some awesome stuff. What's if we wrap up here quick? What's the biggest lesson you learned, or the biggest piece of advice you would have given yourself as you were getting back into the game that you wish you knew then, that would have gotten you to where you are a lot quicker or a lot less painfully?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for anybody who's maybe you're a landscaper, right, and you're wanting to get into the hardscape game. I mean, I think you really need to become really well versed and educated in number one, what's trending now, but look at what the top players are doing and the systems and the tools that they're using, because this is such a competitive game. You got to be able to know. I mean, really just always goes back to the numbers, man. I mean, you really have got to know what you need to charge to make a profit. I mean, if you don't make profit, you don't have a business, right? You can do work, but you're not going to sustain longevity. And I went into it not knowing those things. And
did you not know them, or did you underestimate them?
I underestimated them. I mean, when you're out of the game so long and prices were just, completely changed, and labor rates.
Oh, it's a completely different world.
Yeah. So, it's like, holy moly. Do I wish I would have throttled back then? No.
No, I got to where you are now.
But, I would caution guys who jump in the game to, set the expectation with the customers, hey, maybe 6 weeks, instead of just trying to go full steam ahead like we did. Because, we could have mitigated a lot had we just taken the ride, but not let the high ride us, per se. And so, know your numbers, educate yourself, with how to be more efficient on jobs. I mean, really invest in some education. I think that's super, super important, which is one of the reasons, man, I actually joined Hardscape Mentor Group, because they have a mobile app, and there's a lot of great videos for guys who are starting out how to, create differentiating spaces, and being able to give that to my crews and let them look at some stuff. I mean, that's been a huge part of it. So that's stuff right there that's, invaluable to people. And I think my number one thing that I'll always tell people is don't chase the dollar, chase the passion. Mm-hmm. If you're passionate about what you do and you do really good quality work, the byproduct is the success, right? Because money is not a result. It's a byproduct of something. So that will come with the passion and the quality that you do. People will soak it up, and they'll want to be, it's fun. They want to be a part of it. And I think know
your numbers, but don't live and die by them. Live and die by doing what's right, and the numbers will follow.
Exactly.
Makes a ton of sense, man.
Yeah.
Listen, I really want to thank you for taking the time to join us on the show. This was pretty insightful considering the little bit of time that we spent together here. But I think there's a lot of good stuff, particularly the fact that you don't need much to get into the right type of market. You need the right mindset, and you need to know the right people.
Yep.
And having the right mindset is often the byproduct of knowing the right people too. So I think the benefit of building a network of people that you can talk to, whether it's online or whether it's in person, being sure to ask a lot of questions and genuinely be curious and be open to growing and knowing that you're going to mess things up, and that's all right. That's part of the journey. Just make sure you have enough of a cushion, because not everyone's got the parachute that you were fortunate enough to have that got you through the storm to get you to where you are now. But I think when you think about all that stuff and you put it together in the big picture, there's a ton of opportunity in this industry. I know I say this all the time, but there's a ton of opportunity, even in a market that is more developed than like Atlanta, where people are kind of discovering now what can be done. Even in the super competitive markets where everybody's doing outdoor living stuff, it doesn't matter. The market is so big and there's so much opportunity. And if you really focus on building the right kind of brand, and you're thoughtful about that, not just going out there and just doing the work, but really think about like, who are we trying to be? What do we stand for? What do we represent? If you can do that stuff, more often than not, it'll work out. There are just so many examples now from across the country. Everyone I talk to, like, they're doing it their way, but they're true to who they are, and that's what really makes it work. So I want to thank you for joining us on the show and giving us just another example of that passion, creativity, and that drive. Put those three things together, and you can make it work, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if I was to say anything, man, to somebody who just wanted one piece of advice, right? I mean, I guess the main piece is if you just focus on what you want to become, manifest your dreams, it will be there. The pie is too big. It really is, man. And I think I was talking with some more boys that are here local. They asked me, I said, listen, we're all in the same together, but we're not competition, guys. What we need to do is we need to come together and elevate the game to be better, make us each better. And I think if we all did that together, the industry as a whole is just going to explode.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is still just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think, but it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, Rob, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
All right, buddy.
If people want to reach out to you, is Instagram the best way to go? Shoot you a DM?
Yeah, DM, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Yeah. And, it's like I tell anybody, I'm always happy to, if somebody wants to call me and ask me something, I'm always happy to listen. All
right. So the Instagram handle is Stone_Craft Designs, one word, StoneCraft Designs on Instagram. And that is Rob Green. And I'm Alex from techo-bloc. And until next time, guys, work hard, pave harder. And we'll see you next week on the Hardscape Growth Show. You've been listening to Hardscape Growth, a podcast for hungry professionals who want to grow their businesses and level up. Each episode is all about taking the next step in running your business, so make sure you never miss a show by subscribing on your favorite podcast player. And if you're finding this information to be useful, help others in your position discover us by giving us a star rating and leaving a comment. We'll see you next week.